You've seen it 100 times. The tough hero takes a bullet to the shoulder during a gunfight. He staggers into the saloon, pours whiskey over the wound, ties a dirty bandana around it, grits his teeth, and rides off into the sunset to continue the chase. Clean, simple, heroic. Now, let me destroy that fantasy completely. Cut the heroic music. Listen, labored breathing, delirium, the buzzing of flies. The reality? That whiskey didn't sterilize anything. The bullet didn't need to hit your heart to be lethal. The frontier didn't kill you with a clean shot. It devoured you alive, from the inside out. Today, you're going to learn the brutal physics of soft lead, the terror of sepsis, and why surviving the street duel was just the beginning of an agonizing, rotting death. Welcome to the real gunshot wound, where the bullet was just a delivery system, and the dirt of the frontier did the killing. Let's start with the bullet itself, because modern bullets and Old West bullets are completely different weapons. Today's ammunition has a copper jacket, a metal shell around the lead core. When it enters the body, it makes a relatively clean hole, punches through, exits, done. But in the 1800s, pure lead, soft lead, no jacket, no protection. And soft lead behaves very differently inside a human body. When a lead bullet hits flesh at high velocity, it doesn't stay bullet-shaped. It mushrooms, flattens out like a pancake. The nose spreads wide, the edges peel back, and as it tumbles through muscle and bone, it tears, rips, shreds. A half-inch bullet becomes an inch-wide destroying angel. And if it hits bone, the bone explodes, shatters into dozens of sharp fragments that become secondary projectiles. Each piece of shattered bone cuts through surrounding tissue like a knife. A single bullet wound becomes an internal massacre. Muscle torn apart, blood vessels severed, nerves shredded, and the pain? Beyond description. Every movement, every breath, every heartbeat sent waves of agony through your body. But the physical damage wasn't even the worst part, because the bullet never entered alone. Think about what you were wearing. Wool shirt, thick, heavy, unwashed for weeks, months, soaked in sweat, covered in trailed dust, stained with horse manure, and God knows what else. When that bullet punched through your chest or abdomen, it didn't just penetrate skin. It drove fibers of that filthy fabric deep into the wound, pushed them into the muscle, into the abdominal cavity. Those fabric fibers were loaded with bacteria, dirt, microscopic particles of feces, all of it packed into the bottom of a warm, wet hole in your body, the perfect incubator. And there was more. The bullet itself was dirty. It had been sitting in a cartridge belt wrapped around a sweaty waist, handled with unwashed hands, dropped in the dirt and picked up again. The surface of that lead was covered in contamination, and now it was inside you, deposited deep in your tissue. You couldn't see it, couldn't feel it at first, but it was there, waiting, multiplying. Within hours, the infection began. And on the frontier, without antibiotics, without understanding of germ theory, infection wasn't a risk. It was a guarantee. Let me walk you through what happened to your body. First, the area around the wound turned red, inflamed. Your immune system recognized the foreign material and flooded the area with white blood cells. The tissue swelled, became hot to the touch, throbbing, painful, but that was just the beginning, because the bacteria introduced by the bullet and the fabric were anaerobic. They thrived in environments without oxygen, deep wounds, dead tissue, and the most terrifying species was Clostridium perfringens, the cause of gas gangrene. This bacteria didn't just infect, it devoured. It ate dead tissue and produced gas as a byproduct. And here's where it gets truly horrifying. The skin around the wound changed color. Red became purple. Purple became black. The tissue was dying, necrotic, and underneath, the bacteria were multiplying, producing gas. The muscle swelled, ballooned outward. The skin stretched tight, and when you touched it, when you pressed down, it crackled, popped like bubble wrap. That sound is called crepitation. It's the sound of gas trapped under your skin, the sound of your body rotting while you're still alive, and the smell, oh God, the smell, Gas gangrene produces one of the most distinctive and nauseating odors in medicine. Sweet, sickly sweet, like overripe fruit mixed with raw sewage and rotting meat. It filled the room, soaked into the walls, the bedding, your clothes. You couldn't escape it, and it attracted flies. Blowflies poured in through open windows, drawn by the scent of decay. They landed on the wound, laid eggs. Within hours, maggots hatched, white, writhing, feeding on the dead tissue. Some doctors actually encouraged this, thought the maggots were cleaning the wound, and in a way they were. They only ate dead flesh. But the psychological horror of watching maggots crawl out of your own body, unbearable, and the infection kept spreading. The black necrotic tissue expanded, crept up your arm or across your chest. An inch a day, 2 inches, you could watch it advancing, consuming you, and the fever hit. Your body temperature spiked to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius. You burned from the inside, sweated through the sheets, shivered uncontrollably. Your brain couldn't function. Delirium set in, hallucinations. You saw things that weren't there, heard voices, lost track of time and place. And the thirst, desperate, unquenchable thirst. Your body was losing fluids to the infection, to the fever. You begged for water, drank, and it was never enough. And then the doctor arrived. If you were lucky enough to have one in town. But as we covered in another video, frontier doctors were barely trained butchers, and their treatment made everything worse. The doctor's first instinct was to find the bullet, retrieve it, so he stuck his finger into the wound, his unwashed finger, the same finger he'd used on 3 other patients that morning. He probed, dug around, felt for the hard lump of lead buried in your muscle. Couldn't find it? He grabbed a metal instrument, a probe, a forceps, also unwashed, crusty with dried blood from previous patients, and he shoved it deep into the hole, twisting, scraping against bone, pushing the infection deeper, introducing new bacteria. Every time he touched you, every time he inserted that filthy tool, he was sealing your fate. The bullet might not have killed you, but the doctor's hands, they absolutely would. And if he did find the bullet and pull it out, that didn't stop the infection. That didn't remove the fabric fibers. The dirt, the bacteria, already multiplying in your tissue. You were still dying, just slower. By day 3 or 4, the gangrene was unstoppable. The black tissue covered half your arm, or your entire leg. The fever was constant. Your heart raced, trying to pump blood through a system overwhelmed with toxins. Septic shock was setting in. Your blood pressure dropped. Your organs started failing. Kidneys, liver, lungs. And the doctor had one option left: amputation. Cut off the infected limb before the gangrene reached your torso and killed you. But here's the problem. By the time they decided to amputate, it was usually too late. The bacteria were already in your bloodstream, spreading to your vital organs. And even if the timing was right, the surgery itself was a nightmare. No anesthesia, a rusty saw, 3 minutes of unimaginable agony as they cut through muscle and bone. And then what? You survived the amputation. But the stump got infected anyway, because the saw wasn't sterile. The surgeon's hands weren't clean, and the cycle started again. More gangrene, more fever, more rot, until there was nothing left to cut. Most men didn't make it a week. They died in a hotel room or a back bedroom of someone's house, burning with fever, delirious, the wound black and swollen and bubbling with gas, surrounded by the stench of their own decay. And the worst part? They were conscious for most of it. They knew what was happening, felt their body betraying them, watched the infection spread, smelled themselves rotting, and there was nothing anyone could do. No antibiotics, no fluids, no surgical debridement, just whiskey for the pain, and prayer, and slow, inevitable death. The statistics don't lie. In the Civil War, which happened during the same era, 70% of abdominal gunshot wounds were fatal, not from the bullet, from infection, from gangrene, from sepsis. The frontier numbers were even worse, because at least Civil War soldiers had field hospitals. The cowboys? They had a dirty hotel room and a butcher pretending to be a doctor. This is the reality Hollywood will never show you, because there's no glory in dying slowly from an infected gunshot wound. No heroism in watching your arm turn black and rot off your body while you scream in delirium. The real Old West wasn't decided at high noon in the dusty street. It was decided in the darkness of a stifling room, days after the bullet hit. The gunshot was just a delivery system. The bacteria and the filth of the frontier did the real killing. So here's the question. Would you rather take a clean shot to the heart during a duel and die instantly? Or survive the bullet only to spend 5 days watching gas gangrene bubble and spread up your arm while the fever cooks your brain? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you think the doctor was going to save you, you need to click the screen right now and watch our episode about why Wild West surgery was pure torture. Because here we deliver the truth. Raw, visceral, history. This is the raw frontier.